Hello, welcome back to yet another Geek Show where, man, Jake just made me feel super old. This is your host, Alex Ecker.
This is your host, Dalton.
This is your host, Jacob. How did I make you feel super old again?
Because what is today?
It is the PlayStation 2's birthday, and I think it should be older than it is.
Happy birthday, PlayStation 2.
You are 20 years old.
Hold
today,
on.
and that is
Hold on,
strange
guys.
to me.
There's a factoid that I know, and we got to be very careful.
Okay.
We are referring to Sony's object PlayStation 2, not the guy who legally changed his name to PlayStation 2, right?
Oh my god, I forgot about him.
It could be his birthday.
Happy birthday, PlayStation 2.
He could have changed that.
And also PlayStation 2.
Do you think that guy, was that during the time of the PS2? Do you think he periodically changes his... I assume that's his last name?
No, his son's name is PlayStation 3.
To 3 and 4? Oh, my.
It is a generational thing. Wow.
Yeah.
He just keeps going.
My father's father before
I want to
him.
have our second kid.
PlayStation
His family
5th.
reproduces a little too young to keep up those numbers.
So, yeah.
Jeez. Unless it's that, each... it's not generational, but just each child gets named PlayStation 2, 3, 4, and then you'd have this weird situation where the older sibling has to live up to the smaller sibling, right? PS3 has to live up to PS4 now.
It's like, your older brother has a lot of good sales. I don't see any good launch titles with you, so what's going on? He's like, but you got the Final Fantasy remake. That's not fair. And he's like, oh, no complaining, son. You're the 5. You got to impress.
Yeah, but he had God of War.
What I tell you?
Which son had God of War?
Which one? The first one. He just smacks him. He's like, no. Anyway,
Welcome to yet another Geek Show where Jacob just made me cough on my generic White Claw, just utterly choked to death. And I don't think either of these guys noticed, even though I'm on camera.
No, we noticed. We just ignore that you're here.
Okay.
speaking of loving memories shared between the three of us, with it being PlayStation 2's birthday, aside from just that console, for you guys, is there anything in the PlayStation's lifespan from 4 all the way to the first of a gaming memory that really sticks out to you as something that affected you? You know how much Final Fantasy VII has affected the entire crew of the podcast.
I was going to say, why would you lead me into talking about Final Fantasy VII
Or more Tony Hawk.
Especially knowing that it's coming later this episode already.
Right. We'll avoid...
Yes, or more Tony Hawk.
Okay. Well, what about this? I thoroughly have very fond memories of playing Final Fantasy X. Games like Onimusha, Drekengard, Jack and Daxter. All of those games were phenomenal to me. Oh goodness. There's too many.
I've been meaning to play Drakengard, but I've been meaning to play most of the PS2's library for the last 20 years. But I've not done so.
There's a lot of good games for the series or for the console. Yeah. There was so many to pick and choose from. Those are just a few that kind of stick out to me. Oh man, so many good memories. Especially with Final Fantasy X, because I had a group of friends that we would stay up all night and just play the game and try and get the better stuff early on in the game, Titus's overdrive move. I had a friend that stayed up literally all night, and we woke up at noon, and he looks at us and he goes, "I got Blitz Ace," and we're like, "No, you didn't." And he's chilling on Kilika Island and about to fight Lord Ochu, and just pulls out Blitz Ace. And I'm like, seriously, man, you stayed up all night just to do this?
God, I remember when that was possible. Oh man.
Yeah. Oh man.
Actually,
there's a lot of overnight memories. Oh, Dragon Quest VIII, for example, was great.
Oh, that was classic.
Yeah. I still actively play that game because I never 100% finished it. I don't know. I don't think I ever will, but it's never something I actually beat though. I have it on my 3DS and I still every now and again pick it up to play it to finish the game.
PlayStation 2 actually introduced me to the Tales of series because I actually got Tales of Symphonia on there, which I knew was hard to find on the PlayStation 2 at the time. And then Tales of the Abyss and Tales of Legendia. never played anything so anime inspired at the time, and that was like whenever I'd been exposed to anime. I think my first one I ever watched was Dragon Ball Z, very late at night. And I remember being like, I wish games had this look. And then Tales of Symphonia came into my local GameStop, and I just stared at it, and I was like, finally. That game was amazing.
Oh, dude, how can we forget about Shadow of the Colossus?
Oh my god, yeah, it's been like, I think it's been re-released for every PlayStation
By never
console
playing
at this point.
Oh.
Yeah, by never playing it.
I remember
I forgot.
Play right there.
when I got my PS4, Dalton was like, "Hey, let's go halvesies on the new Spider-Man game, and then I'll borrow your PlayStation 4 to play it." And I gave him my copy of Shadow of the Colossus to play through, and I don't think he did, and I'm a little upset about it.
Well, I played through Spider-Man and Detroit Become Human, and at some point I was like, he's going to want his PlayStation back one of these months.
True.
Spider-Man was amazing. That was a damn good
It was
game.
fantastic, yeah. Oh, what about Spider-Man for the PlayStation 2? That was phenomenal.
See,
Wouldn't know.
everybody has like Spider-Man 2 memories, because like Spider-Man 2 was like the game to live up to, but all I remember, and I think it was Spider-Man 3, where that clip is from, where if you fail the QuickTime event, you hit the ground and the lady just goes, "I'm gonna die," and the building blows up.
I forgot about that.
That is the only experience. I think that was Spider-Man 3, because that game was just, it was falling apart before it even hit store shelves.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of staples with the PlayStation 2. I mean, how many Final Fantasies were on that? 10, 10-2, 11, which 12, was an MMO.
11, yeah.
Yeah, that's when like multiplayer gaming kind of started. Like it's got a big important staple there. Even though I don't do much multiplayer, but you know.
And now any attempt at modernizing 11 is going to be like an utter disaster and so many thousands of hours of work to undo it being fundamentally tied to the PS2.
Yeah.
Like the mobile version they're working on right now.
Yeah, which I tried. Like, I don't know if either of you have played 11 or when you did so, but I think I mentioned last year on the podcast trying to play it, and I just couldn't tolerate the awful interface because it was designed with the PS2 controller in mind first, but like, which is something you can pull off fine today. Like, they figured out making 14 playable on a controller just fine. They did not figure it out with 11, and it's a disaster, and it feels awful. And I just decided I can't do this. I'm interested, but like I can't get past the interface. And so the mobile version, I'm hoping that, you know, they take that mobile version and then they kind of port it back to the PC and they go, no, this is the real version now. And and clicking on things becomes a meaningful way to interact with things in an MMO.
See, I can't believe I skipped over it. PlayStation 2, it gave us Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
My favorite game series.
Yeah. Although I do have to say I was disappointed with Kingdom Hearts 3.
You were disappointed with 3, you said?
Yeah.
Oh man, have you played? There is DLC that may rectify that, but that's a whole thing I'll go into, and I shouldn't do that because I'll take over an entire podcast again.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 3, like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 were phenomenal. Like they hit the right time frame. 2 introduced some pretty cool new things on top of an already pretty solid battle system. 3. The battle system felt like it had a lot of wasted potential, in my opinion, because like they tried throwing like objects into your fights where you could like, hey, spin on this pole and, you know, swing your sword in a giant spinning thing, or hey, run up this wall and attack an enemy, but like you'll never be able to do it. You know what I mean? Like it was just there's plus that, and like I was really mad at the whole Frozen scene, like because that movie was how old by the time the movie or the game released. With 3.
I remember being mad about the Frozen scene, but then it made me think about how they did that with The Little Mermaid, though, and I was perfectly fine with it for some reason. Like, I don't know if it's just because
the difference was, at least with The Little Mermaid, there was actually like a rhythm game in it.
Oh God, I remember. I remember when I found out I could skip Atlantica. I'll admit it. I skipped it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah,
I'll find you later when you become a summon, Ariel.
Yeah, like you need more money for Frozen. You know what I mean? Like I've actually not seen the movie just because of all the hype. Like I was just like, I'm tired of hearing about it. I don't want to see it.
It was legitimately good for what it's worth.
It was actually good. I mean, I have gripes
Severely
about it.
overhyped, yeah, but it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I haven't watched it a second time, but
Although weirdly, the sequel was solid.
I've heard. Didn't see it.
I don't intend to.
But that said, for some added context on me not super being part of this conversation and saying, by never playing that game over and over again. I had Xbox and GameCube.
Yep. Yeah, you did.
Hey,
I had Xbox and GameCube. Yeah, and I was like, okay, I've got 2 out of the 3 this gen. Not gonna push my luck with the parental units and ask for a third in one generation. And then all of a sudden, when that generation was coming like to an end, it may be like 2005, my dad, who I didn't live with, just shows up one day and he's like, someone owed me money and gave me this instead. Here's a PlayStation 2 and God of War 2.
Yeah. I also remember that there was a local store that would mod your consoles for you, and you modded your Xbox.
Yeah. Yes, I had a modded Xbox at the time. Sold my GameCube at some point for more money for PS2 games, but yeah, I got the PS2 real close to the end of the cycle.
Yeah.
And real shortly before I just stopped gaming for years because I discovered playing guitar in 06, and that was all I did for the sequential, 5 or 6 years before I realized I can have more than one hobby at a time. So I missed the whole like end of that generation and the whole like first half of the next. So
wow, now that I think about it, there's like we spent a lot of time as kids, and there's really not many memories I have of us without you holding a guitar.
We didn't play games together.
No, we didn't. Why did we hang out? Because all I wanted to do was play video games and guitar. But
also,
why are we friends?
Yeah. Also, Dylan, shout out to him if he ever listens to this. But like, he was my best dude through that whole era, and all we did was play instruments. I don't have any memories of playing video games with him either. We would stay in each other's houses for weeks at a time. And video games weren't a thing we did. He did them on his own, and I played Halo 2 with him, and that's it. I have memories of Halo 2 with him, and that's it. And it was all about music.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm thrilled to have both hobbies in my life, but I do wish a little that I hadn't swayed so hard back into video games now and away from music. And now Broccoli Bomber just has me going back and forth every other week.
It's a reason to do both.
Yeah. Multiple hobbies. Adulthood.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Broccoli Bomber Studios is just an excuse to make it feel like I'm actually doing something when I embrace my hobbies.
And I helped.
And you helped.
You're like, can you justify my hobbies? Alex, like, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
If you make an internet show for no one where you discuss your hobbies, they will be completely justified.
And get your friend to help.
Like, baby, I gotta buy all these new games. Yeah. We gotta play all these new games to make a point. I can't just go on there and be like, I played it.
The other day, like one night, like right before bed, my wife and I started watching Tokyo Ghoul, and we watched one episode, and I was like, this is a really good start. But then the next day, she was like, hey, do you want to watch some more Tokyo Ghoul tonight? And then a couple more hours when she was ready, I was like, nope, gotta watch The Incredible Hulk for my dumb internet show now. So sometimes it forces me to jump into parts of my hobbies I don't really want to.
Well, it's funny because my wife was watching Tokyo Ghoul. She's like on the 3rd season of it though, I think. So
yeah.
So
I probably won't talk about it until I'm done with it. But yeah,
that's funny because my girlfriend was definitely not watching it, and she was reading Labyrinth fanfiction. That's right, I'm calling you out.
You guys want to become a fanfiction podcast instead?
Like of us? Just creating weird scenarios.
No, the day we're big enough that like the weird side of internet fandom starts making fan fiction of us, I think I'm out.
I fucked the peanut butter.
I'm out. The minute.
Touched the bottom of the jar.
He didn't seem to mind.
See, we'll have to just start reviewing fan fiction. I think I got a couple that we could read and then do a dramatic reading of and just review it.
No Sonic
fanfic.
fanfic.
Immortal? If you haven't, you need to look it up.
Link us.
We
Link
could
us.
make a game out of just like finding like Sonic fan fiction, but then find and replacing our names into it.
Oh God. So
We have a live reading on the podcast.
yeah. So that means we'll have to play multiple parts. Because you know how Sonic fanfic goes.
Oh,
I'll be like,
Yeah,
I'll be
'cause
the
then
role
Zelda
of
shows
Sonic
up and Peach is there.
and Zelda. Yeah.
guys, I hate this
Softly. I softly hate this topic.
I was gonna ask how we got there, but it's my fault. I'll take the one for that.
Welcome to Jacob's
So I
last
guess
episode.
So I guess the bulk of my PS2 memory is playing God of War 2 over and over again because I didn't have many games for it.
And then I borrowed that copy of God of War 2 and beat it several times. And then I played the game. Fanfic.
I still own, though, the only hard copy video games I still own since switching to primarily PC. For some reason, it was because I tried to trade them in at a GameStop or a local shop we have access to, and they wouldn't take it because they weren't worth anything. I still have hard copies of Final Fantasy 12,
Dirge of Cerberus, I bet.
Dirge of Cerberus,
7.
Oh my god.
Shadow the Hedgehog. Oh, wait, 2 more. Switch over to Xbox, some DDR game, and Munch's Odyssey. I can't bring myself to just throw them in the trash, but I can't bring myself to go on the internet and try to get rid of them either.
Munch's Odyssey, was that that would have been after New and Tasty, right?
No.
Which
No, Munch's Odyssey is old. New
Is
and
it?
Tasty is a recent remake.
Well, yeah, it's a remake of the first one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is Munch's Odyssey the sequel of the first game?
Munch is the third game in the series.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because there was the Abe's Odyssey
Oh man.
and
Abe's
then
Exodus.
Exodus. That's it. That's the one I was missing.
Jacob, are you just now remembering that this franchise exists? Because it's sweet.
Yeah, I am. I totally
It's-
blanked on that. Oh
it's
my
a
God.
phenomenal
You were saying it, and
series.
I'm like, why do I know those names?
Yeah.
I'm just
did
reminded,
either of
the only
you?
hard copy game I have is, do you guys remember 2 Human for the Xbox 360?
No, I don't.
Oh, it was involved in a
I
lawsuit
remember
where
the
Epic
name.
Epic Games fought against Silicon Knights, and they had to recall all the copies, and I went and bought one for $2 as fast as I could. It is the worst game I've ever played, and it works on the new Xbox, and that's why I still have it.
That's awesome.
One day
I honestly-
soon, you'll be
I have a-
glad
I
that you
have
held
a-
on to it.
Exactly. We're gonna play. It's gonna be a let's play, and it's gonna be terrible. It is.
Oh yeah.
I could make a video essay that's 3 hours long about how bad this game is, but how great it is because of that.
I am completely fine with you making video essays for the channel, but only if they're for terrible games.
Yeah. Only if they're terrible.
Just me in front of a dry erase board, just freaking out, losing my mind as I talk about the game.
Like we look over and there's like shit smeared on the wall, and you're like screaming at the board, like, you see this, right? I'm not crazy, you are.
It was meant to be a trilogy. I'm Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny.
Oh man. Go on, Dalton.
So let's end that discussion with if you had to pick your single favorite exclusive PS2 titles.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Oh, that's
It still
tough.
counts if they became multi-platform later.
Okay.
So do remasters count? Like that's perfectly okay to do, or is it more like it was
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that console specifically? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh God, that's tough. There's so many good games on that system that I can't remember.
Right.
Just,
Well, I'm
Like, I
glad
know
I
I've
just
played
gave this
games.
video a whole minute of
it's your
Fanfic.
ASMR moment here at the Yet Another Geek Show. Hi.
He
This is the sound of
breathed
me
softly. He breathed
Jacob
softly
breathes
into the
heavily,
peanut
trying to
butter.
think back to his old PlayStation games. Alex looked at him fondly through the webcam. He liked his thinking face, but didn't like it when he looked away.
How do I delete someone else's podcast episode?
You're like, there's going to be like a harsh edit being like, Jacob, you went real quiet for some reason. Oh, well.
Yeah. Back to the show. Okay, so
you know what? There was at least once or twice in our early days when we were still getting our bearings on what we were doing. There was once or twice that I completely cut out a whole segment of Alex's in a totally smooth way that you couldn't tell. And Alex just didn't notice and I didn't say anything.
You realize I still have my stems, right? Like, I can go back and find out which episode you're talking about.
Oh, you can go back and look for it now, but you didn't notice it at the time.
Oh.
You also wouldn't be able to tell because the time durations, the show used to be really heavily cut for silence while we were getting our bearings on what we were doing, and we were still real shy and awkward talking to nobody except each other. That shouldn't be shy and awkward.
No.
Nowadays, I rarely have to cut any silence, but at the time, we might record 80 minutes and then I cut silence and all of a sudden it's 65 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
You need to make a supercut of all the silent.
I need to know another rule. Dalton, this rule to this game thing. If you say a series and its sequels, does that count as 3 games or just 1? Or are you going?
That's 3 games, bruh.
3 games? Fuck.
Your favorite game can't be 3 games.
It can't be just the series that was exclusive.
You have to pick, damn it.
Your favorite game is 1 game.
Kingdom Hearts, the original Kingdom Hearts. Nothing enchanted me like that game on the PlayStation 2.
I just scrolled by The Godfather. That's what someone put on my Xbox when I paid to have it modded.
Yeah.
Honestly, the Traverse Town theme is like forever stuck in my head. I loved that. It was so amazing.
Oh yeah, so that's a good one
for me.
Dig
Dig deep, Alex. You can do it. Separate the games. Only one is what you can choose. The other 2 will be hit by a bus.
Alex, it's Lego Star Wars. You know it to be true.
Yeah,
that's why we stopped putting it on the Let's Play channel. Because I loved it too much. Sure.
Star Wars?
Do it. Oh. Fuck. Jack and Daxter, fine.
There you go.
Huh. That felt anticlimactic somehow.
You went through this whole thing just for the...
You fucking stressed me out.
Go back. Pick another one.
Yeah. No, not good enough.
No, dude,
that wasn't good enough. Not because the game wasn't good enough, because you didn't mean it.
Fine. Jack and Daxter is my favorite PlayStation 2 game in the entire world.
PlayStation 2 exclusive game.
Oh. Hey, Dalton, do me a favor. Can you edit out this episode? Can you just edit out this entire episode, please? There's a lot going on here that I'm...
Everybody except the laughter.
Yeah.
If you're hearing this, you paid for Patreon access to our shitty deleted episodes.
Thanks for the $20 that you didn't know you gave us.
Also, hey, how's it going? Look at that extra later greeting for everybody on the Patreon. That's what you get when you wait about 24 minutes into a podcast.
Yeah.
See, if you edit...
You totally have a Patreon now.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Actually, we can make a free OnlyFans. Don't ask how I know
that. What, where we act out our fan fiction?
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah. First tier is the behind the scenes. The second tier is just us reading the fan fiction that we make ourselves that no one asked for.
I just pictured a hot dog inside of a peanut butter jar. God damn it.
The poor soul that stumbled onto this is your first time listening to us. Thank you for coming by. It was nice knowing you. See you around.
Support us on Patreon and we'll stop posting.
Give us money so that way we don't have to.
We will keep recording fan fiction until someone pays us. Please, please. Listen, I'm getting real close to the mic for this. Hi. Just a little bit, please.
Jacob said
on a slightly more serious note, of course, we don't actually have a Patreon because that requires having actual listeners that might want to support you.
So share this to your friends that you think they would like it. And yeah.
That is where I was going. How do you know? I've decided that the
I am
entire
you.
reason that this has not been more successful is because we don't actually remind people and ask people to subscribe and hit the bell and join the notification squad and share on Twitter and rate on
What's up,
iTunes
gang?
and whatever.
You gotta go.
Don't forget to hit that bell, like that smash button.
Anyways, all that we're saying it like a joke because I know everyone's sick of hearing it everywhere, but it's true. We kind of need that. Please do that.
Yeah. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
Anyway, my answer is
I swear to God, if you say Tony Hawk.
Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses.
Solid game. Solid game.
Moving on.
Oh God. Oh man, I'm just remembering more games.
I said moving on. You can't stay here.
Edit out that last comment, please, so we can keep going.
I've edited it so that now I say moving on. So last week,
and now you're just gonna hear me like a jumbled up bunch of words. I'm like, yeah, that is a great idea, Dalton. Like real quick.
So the marketing started up on this new Candyman movie.
Oh yeah.
Which I realized disappointingly, we technically don't need to spotlight it because it is Jordan Peele produced, not directed. And what we started was a Jordan Peele directed marathon. Regardless, I want to see it whether we spotlight it or not. And but I realized I've never seen the Candyman movies. I've met Tony Todd at a horror movie convention like a decade ago, but I realized I never actually saw these movies. So I went back and watched the original Candyman. Have you guys seen it?
I have.
Okay.
You mean
not
it's
that
not
anyone's
the local
looking
stranger
for
with the white
opinions.
van?
Yes, that's exactly who I meant. Not that anyone's looking
I'm pretty
for
familiar
opinions on the original Candyman in the year 2020. But for for other people who don't see movies until 30 years too late. I guess in my mind, I don't care for a lot of horror in this era because when it comes to horror movies, a lot of them I feel like are simply trying to scare you, but they have nothing else there.
There's no lasting impact.
Yeah, there's frequently no actual attempt to tell a compelling story, to have a compelling message, to make you think in any way. It's a haunted house. Not to shit on haunted houses, which I guess I just did. But and it's changed recently. There's been a lot of really impressive horror movies, including the one I'm about to talk about after this one. But nonetheless, I had lumped this movie kind of into those because when I go back to, say, like the old Michael Myers movies or Jason movies, like they're not doing a lot for me. They're just trying to scare me and not really doing it. And I thought this was another one of those and just, never got curious enough to go back to it. But I went back and watched it and it has shit to say and it is trying to do a lot more than simply scare you. I don't find it scary at any point, but I appreciate that it is horror from that long ago that just actually tried.
Okay.
So,
Jacob, you've seen it. Does any of that resonate with you?
No, it did. It tried to get a message across, but it was trying to be very subtle about it. It's not one of my favorite horror movies because there's bits of it that I thought were just campy for the time. Bryony really loves it. My girlfriend, she's freaking out about the remake because it looks really, really good. And I remember watching it and knowing that there was a message there at the time because it was a couple years back, but being very aware that it wasn't for me. And it was like, because I could see people like really getting a lot from it, and I was sitting there going, I'm not getting it. And initially that made me hate it a little bit as a movie because I was like, I don't understand it. But then I came to realize, I'm like, okay, it's just wasn't for me. Like the message it was going was not for me. And everybody disappeared from the video chat.
I don't know if you heard all that. I was trying to screen cap your frozen image like we always do.
I heard everybody disappeared and I kept talking for a good bit. Yeah, I'm seeing the thing. What's bad is it's paid up. I don't know what oh no, now it's back. It like dipped for a second. Screw Comcast. I mean, screw I can't think of a different word for it. I can't. Screw you, Comcast.
We lost you at Briney's excited for the next movie. I think you said remake. It actually is a sequel despite the stupid title.
Oh God, that was a bit ago. Hold up. You did, oh my God.
He could have just read an entire fanfic in that time.
What's good is that my audio caught what I said.
Oh,
good. You know what? That's fine. We'll assume that you agreed with me and that I agreed with the things that you added, and I'm not going to ask you to repeat it. The only thing I'm going to add is that the real bees are dope as shit, and it's really disappointing that the new movie is using CG bees, at least from what I saw in the trailers. Maybe they'll combine the two. I know to some extent it's a safety thing and not necessarily an ease of use thing, but some of the shots with the bees in the original are the scariest shit ever. And the only other thing I really wanted to comment on was the music. Score is it does have some of that late 80s, early 90s horror cheese, but I love the constant like choir sounds where it's like it's this weird combination of like orchestral like choir music combined with the horror synth of that era, and it's unique and it resonated with me, and it's not one of my favorite horror movies, but after that watch, it is one of my favorites of that era. I just think we've learned a lot about doing the genre better since then. If only through, improved technology allowing us to do it better. That said, moving on to a modern horror movie that I really liked.
That's good. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So The Invisible Man, which Jacob said did not look compelling in the trailers at all. And I don't remember if I ever actually saw a trailer. I feel like I saw a poster and went, that doesn't look unique or exciting or interesting in any way. And there's a million Invisible Man movies already, and I was just not interested at all. And this is from the studio that tried twice recently to, we just discussed Marvel being the only ones who can do a combined universe nowadays. This studio just failed to do it twice with these characters, and so this was them finally giving up and saying, let's just make an Invisible Man movie and not tie it into a greater universe. Anyway, wasn't interested at all. Only went into it because of an impressive Rotten Tomatoes score, and it pulled me in immediately. It was actually really awesome. I mean, from the first shot, the audio is really powerful immediately. Just awesome sound design out the ass. Like the very first shot of it is just a close up of the main character laying in bed, just a close up on her face. And just the loud sound of this, they're on this like kind of beach house mansion overlooking the ocean. And it's just this loud, like crunching ocean sounds that's like just so overpowering that like, it immediately communicates before anything is said. Like she doesn't want to be here. And you immediately realize, not spoilers, because the trailer makes this clear and it's the very first scene of the movie. You immediately realize that the Invisible Man in this movie is an abusive ex that she's escaping from. Which is an interesting take on the idea that, is frankly not all that original. And like I just said, I like when horror movies try to have meaningful things to say, and so it pulls off having a lot of commentary about what it's like to be a survivor of abuse and to not be believed when you're explaining the situation. In terms of accomplishing horror too, I don't really get scared at horror movies, but I will say this has the one jump scare ever that has made me jump out of my seat in the theater.
Wow. Really?
The first time ever. I might have even screamed. I'm not sure.
Alex, we got to go see this movie.
Yeah. Don't watch the trailers, because the trailer actually shows the jump scare, but like devoid of context, and like ruins it and makes it look like no big deal. Like all the tension building to it is gone, and the trailer is just like, here's a cool shot. Come see this movie. And so, yeah, I could see the trailer ruining it, and then people going to the movie and being like, that was no big deal. Well, you knew it was coming, man. That ain't fair.
Actually try to avoid trailers more often now because of that.
Me too.
I basically never watch the trailer for a horror movie, and I only saw it for the new Candyman because it played in front of this movie. I was going to avoid it.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that said, again, I'm not calling this one of my favorite horror movies, but I do think it's a great movie, and I think it deserves to be seen in theaters.
I think we deserve to be seen.
Yeah, just because. Yeah, because
fuck all this movie shit.
Jesus Christ. All right, you heard it here, folks. The Yet Another Geek Show movie, I guess.
Sorry.
We'll figure out how that works later.
It's going to be one of those horror movies that are from a computer screen. It's just us filming a podcast and everything goes wrong.
Like, I can just picture, like, my screen and, like, you just coming out of the door behind me, Jake. Just holding the hot dog, like,
You thought you were safe, but I'm also in my own screen, and I'm like, how am I over there?
Yet another horror movie.
Some really bad horror writer out there is sitting there thinking this is a really good idea and rolling with it.
The guy who wrote Unfriended is looking at this going, oh, wait, here's the third movie of my franchise. Dark web wasn't enough. It's time for more.
Anyway, I do recommend seeing the movie because the sound design's awesome. It looks awesome, too. It's from the director whose name I forgot, but he did Upgrade last year, and I loved it. So if you've seen Upgrade, that dude's style still shines through here. And the score is awesome. I'm going to keep listening to the score. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say. Elizabeth Moss, is that her name? The lead actress? Still a Scientologist, so I still don't like her, but as an actress, she's great. So watch it and feel a little bit dirty about it, I guess. She keeps taking roles that should make it really clear to her what her church is doing wrong to people, and apparently either not getting the hint or is just stuck there and can't leave. One or the other.
Maybe one of these days in all the movies we'll see all the time she blinks and realizes it's Morse code for help me.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway, that's all I've got this week, guys. You guys have anything?
I've kind of got something here.
One more time.
Oops, I did it again. Anyways. I played the Final Fantasy VII Remake Demo, and
I don't know if I can post this episode, you guys. I'm sitting here thinking, I try to actively think, if I'm the listener at home, have I turned off the podcast yet? And when this happens in what's going to be the last 10 minutes of the show, I'm usually like, oh, yeah, it's funny. I got like semi-coherent entertainment for most of the show, and now it's just funny that technology and people are falling apart. Cool. But this happened at the very beginning of the show, and I don't know that it would have inspired me to stick around this long.
Well, maybe it could work in our advantage. It's maybe a train wreck you can't look away from.
That said, I am posting it, and if you're still here, you psycho, share it on Twitter. Thanks.
Yeah. Anyways, I played the Final Fantasy VII Remake Demo, and
I want to hear what Jacob has to say more than I want to hear what you have to say.
Fine. Go ahead. I'm all fucking ears.
So I know the main thing was just us coming together to talk, but maybe like whenever we have those first couple minutes, instead of just like throwing out our talking points and how we think we could segue, like coming up with a more cohesive, like, hey, here's who's going to start this. Because I think my biggest problem is I end up almost always talking over one of you, and I always feel very bad about that.
You're explaining to us literally what just happened.
Yeah. Hey guys, hold on. I'm going to be Captain Hindsight right here. Hold up.
2020 vision, I see.
Yeah,
Alex, go ahead and start. Oh, hey, did you ever notice that we interrupt people a lot?
All right. So for the third time, I've played the Final Fantasy VII Remake Demo. And man, it's making me want to spend money I don't have.
I'm trying so hard not to interrupt you that I think I need to sit my headphones down and step away for a minute. Continue.
Oh, God. Anyways, Dalton's
He's gonna
just
have to
really
listen to it because he has to edit the episode. He has to edit the episode. He's gonna hear it.
I love how he's not off camera and we can see his face, and he's just like
I actually heard a little.
like,
I feel kind of bad because I actually heard a little bit with like how he's sitting. Like it actually hurts a little.
a little bit.
Like I feel like
man, he
he's in
really
some
can't
actual
post this
pain.
episode now after everything we just said.
Right.
I was gonna say, but whatever he says, Dalton, you're gonna have to listen for it when you edit it. So it's like if he just starts yelling spoilers.
Yeah.
Do you think I listen to
felt
this
your
show
pain,
when
though.
I edit it?
We have an audio track from last week as my audio.
So the game looks visually fantastic, even though like I'm on the console and not PC, you know. They did really good with the combat system. It's sort of like Final Fantasy 15. Have either of you played that?
Yeah,
Barely.
Unpopular opinion, I loved 15.
It's really good. And the combat system is almost kind of like Kingdom Hearts. So like Kingdom Hearts is almost kind of no. But anyways, it's the free roaming where you press a button to attack.
Fantasy and there's Disney.
Yeah. But they do the free roaming fighting where you run around and attack and block and dodge. There's no warping though, which is kind of disappointing. Although I do think that certain things need to be tweaked a little bit because they have an ATB gauge that you build up where once you fill up one of those gauges, you can use an ability like whether it's braver or using magic. So you have to fill up one slot of this ATB gauge to use either of those. And it kind of makes it crucial. Like you want to be able to spend those full spent gauges wisely because, you know, you could be a cure away from dying or a lightning bolt away from winning the fight. So I can see what they're kind of doing with that. But at the same time, I kind of wish that you could use your magic a little more freely. There is still like an MP meter and everything. So you have to be mindful of that.
Did the demo include all 3 combat modes?
What do you mean?
Oh, are you not aware that there's 3 combat modes?
No.
I don't remember the terminology they used for the 3 modes, but there is a version that's basically classic.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And as far as I'm aware, you can switch between. Again, I don't know exactly what the 3 are, but you can switch between the 3 on a whim.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware.
So I don't know if the demo has that.
The one thing that I'm really liking compared, like, because it's the opening of the game, like up until the Mako reactor, and the enemies are still relatively true to what they like their base model was in the game, in the original game, which is super appreciative because like I don't want to meet new enemies and have to figure out their weaknesses too. But the biggest thing that I did appreciate was there wasn't like you hit a certain spot in the game where an event starts and you get dialogue boxes. There was actual banter in between every character, and you could see like the relationship that each of them kind of had with each other.
Sure.
That was something that I really enjoyed. The combat is sweet. There's you can switch between characters. Like they had you fighting with Cloud and Barrett in the demo. Couldn't think of the word. Sorry. Where like there's like these little sentries that are up too high that Cloud can't hit him with his sword, so you have to switch to Barrett and use his machine gun to be able to take him out. So I kind of liked how they're sort of forcing you to use all the characters and you know, in a new way. Because I mean, in the other game, you were stuck with 3, and I'm assuming they're going to do that with either like 3 or 4 characters at a time once the game gets released. But having to switch between characters means that like you're not going to necessarily neglect leveling with that particular character, and that's something I can really appreciate. I
like that based on what I've seen, minor characters are going to become more significant characters and be fleshed out. Not necessarily turning them into playable characters, but like Biggs and Wedge in particular.
The world building is going to be way stronger.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, I mean, anyone that's played Final Fantasy VII knows that, you know, the first act of it sort of ends when the Mako reactor blows up, and that's kind of all they take you through. Okay. There is a slight twist at the end. I won't tell you what it is, but I thought it was really interesting and made more sense.
So they're making narrative changes, not just fleshing things out, not just adding things, but changing things.
Yeah, from what I can tell, they're changing certain things. And I really like. I sat there after the demo, and like it plays like a small trailer, and then it says, press this button to go pre-order the game, and I'm like, man, I really want to press this button and pre-order the game. Like I'm genuinely excited for it. Like I remember like growing up, like I my favorite game was always Final Fantasy VIII, and I didn't want to go to Final Fantasy VII for some reason. But I'm thoroughly enjoying what they're doing with it, and it's I could see this being like one of my top 10 of the year kind of thing. So
frankly, if it's half as good as it looks, it's going to be my favorite of all time, given that the original is my favorite of all time. And this seems to be doing, and this seems to be doing everything better, nothing worse.
Yeah. I mean,
unless the pacing is really thrown off by the way it's being expanded, because you know, storytelling is a big part of it. It's possible that they're fleshing it out too much, stretching it across multiple games. So, but I mean, if my one complaint ends up being, it wasn't paced very well,
right?
then is it really worse than the original?
Right. But yeah, no, if you haven't played it, go play it. It's really good. I know you said you were playing it tomorrow with a friend, Jake. So I'm actually really interested to hear your thoughts on like it's not like a huge change, but it's a noteworthy change. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's going to be excited to jump into that world in an HD context. I think the only thing that threw me off is that they've kind of, I mean, we already knew it was going to end whenever they get to escaping Midgar. Like, that's when the game's meant to end. But Red 13 is not a playable character. He is an AI-controlled guest companion. In the sense that he'll be a fourth party member that runs around and helps with you when you get to that part of the game. And from what they said, it was because they not that they ran out of time, but they didn't see a point programming an entire moveset when you were barely going to use him as it was.
Sure.
Okay.
I could see that.
Which made sense, and it adds like a tease for the later game where like when you pick it up, I know the first thing I'm going to do is be like, how does Red play? Like, I can't wait to jump into that whenever the next entry comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, that's kind of all I've got. I didn't do much this week.
That's okay. I'm very late to the party and started playing The Witcher 3 on Switch, and it looks better than it should. It looks better than it has any right to on that little console. They added an update where you can actually mess with the graphics. And I'm staring at it, and I'm like, it has to be heating up. My Switch is going to break into 2. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause, like, it's quiet, and that's what scares me. Because I'm sitting there playing, girlfriend's asleep, the Switch is not making
Why aren't you cooling yourself? Why aren't you cooling yourself?
And I'm like, something's got to be wrong. I pick it up out of the dock. It's colder than it is when I play Breath of the Wild, and I'm shaking it like, you don't make sense. I'm like, there's something wrong here. But I'm kind of happy I waited, because it's a lot of fun to play on the Switch, and it's just having it mobile does change that game a lot. I hope a lot of bigger developers take after CD Projekt Red, and at least just downscaling a next gen game for that is it's still it plays well. It's smooth. I haven't had a frame rate dip. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing games just take a little downscale. I'll play it. It was good.
Yeah,
sure. Well, and I mean, going down to the Switch, at least in like portable mode, I don't know what resolutions The Witcher performs at, but I say they're aiming for it to look good in handheld mode. Switch screen is only 720p, which I'm totally fine with for what the platform is. I mean, that immediately, like if the game was previously targeting 1080, that immediately cuts what the game needs to do to less than half. So yeah, you can very well keep a game, in terms of models, lighting, texturing, you can very well keep all of that intact while porting something to the Switch, because there's half of your performance rescued right there, at least on the GPU side of things.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a big fan of just the idea of making any game available on as many platforms as possible. I know I'm the really big PC gaming guy here, and I know that this particular game isn't something that I would personally go to the Switch and take the downgrade on, but the option should be there.
Because even bringing up, I brought it up at work to a couple coworkers who hadn't played the franchise, but went out and got it and took time to read up on lore. And there's 40,000 YouTube videos on what you need to know before you play Witcher 3. And then now we're just talking about it. They went through the visual dictionary, being oh, I finally get it. This is really cool. And it's weird. Oh, because initially, whenever it first came out, granted, it was very blurry. And they added a lot of stuff where you can work with the bloom, how everything looks in the distance. I'm trying to remember the term. Oh, I'm so mad. I knew what it was. I had it.
Ambient occlusion?
I want to... Oh, no. I think it starts with an A. God, this is terrible. I want to say ray tracing.
Anti-aliasing?
Yes, that's it. Anti-aliasing. Because you can turn it on or off. And when you turn that off, everything ran so much smoother. I know it does there'll be graphical bits where Geralt's hair just kind of goes through his face for 2 seconds. But it's still great. And Roach is still equally buggy, which is one of my favorite parts of that game. You summon him, he's on a house, and you're just you had one job. You had one job, horse.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, hey, for the record, Roach is a girl.
Wait, really?
Dang it.
My wife actually mentioned that
she
a night or two ago. Yeah, she had one job.
Jacob, do you have more to add on the game itself rather than just how impressive it is that it's running on the Switch?
Actually, I'm kind of mad that I slept on it for so long. I think the biggest problem, because I had every console for this generation, and then choices, I just kind of went down to the Switch, which isn't so bad. It helps me narrow my backlog and everything. But anytime I went to play it, I had so many games just in the back burner that I'd play through that opening act tutorial and never actually get the fleshed out game, which until a lot of games, until you get through that big tutorial stage, it's very hard to really judge it. And
get
now that I'm finally diving in,
going.
Yeah. And now that I'm playing it, I will say I know I finally get what people meant, the Witcher side quests are mini games in its own right. And it's just it's been a while since, because I had played certain games just suck me in, Final Fantasy 15, Death Stranding, Breath of the Wild. And it's been a while since I've played a game that I just sit down and I sink into that world. And just I kind of, whenever I come out of it, I'm talking to Bryony, who has no idea what The Witcher's about or what's going on. And I'm just can you believe it? I can't believe they did this. Why would you go and do that? She was nothing you're saying to me.
I heard there's coins.
Yeah. She's did your Witcher get a coin? And I'm you know something. But
yes, there's currency in this fantasy universe.
I do get coin for the things I do.
Does the Witcher have an arm on either side of his body? Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, he does. He
at least one of
them. Yeah. This will sound like an unpopular opinion, speaking honestly, or me being a hypocrite, but I made a couple gaming purchases recently where I start out the game and then I very much lose investment, and it happened with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It happened with Octopath Traveler, and it happened a little bit with I don't remember the Dragon Quest 11. I didn't get as invested as I thought I was going to get. And I just kind of went to where I picked up the game and I was I'm going through the motions because I put money into this. And it's probably since Death Stranding as a recent thing of me jumping into it and just, it's not getting old. It's not I'm just repeating shit. I'm just doing the same quest. It's very much this fluid thing of I can't wait to see this to the end. And thankfully it's they put the complete edition on Switch. It's very rare that my girlfriend says I have commitment issues with games, or I'm just I don't know, I really can't get into it. But it's weird because thinking about it with how priced games are, when you spend $60 and then you find out, oh, this is not what I wanted at all. And thankfully, this is one of the very rare times that I've sunk money into a game and I'm oh hell yeah, this is exactly what I was looking for. Things are perfect. It's such a good feeling because I feel that's, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older and I'm picky about my game experience or the time I put into games, but now it's oh shoot, I just put $63 into this. Well, I need to play it or I've just wasted my time.
Yeah,
and my,
I mean, it's relatable because you just reminded me that I started playing and promptly forgot I was playing recently Half-Life, The Evil Within, Halo Reach, Ni no Kuni, Slay the Spire, Temtem, Wargroove. I've started all of these recently and just immediately forgot. Octopath Traveler.
Oh, wow.
I didn't stop playing them because I was bored. I just forgot I started them.
No, yeah, and like with releases happening, like think about it.
Tony Hawk's Underground.
Persona 4 Royal.
Oh
There
my
you go.
God.
Like Persona 4 Royal
There we are.
comes out this month. Then Animal Crossing comes out, and then Final Fantasy comes out. So if you're like a fan of those games, and you're our age doing a day job, you feasibly have to pick like which one am I going to do with one amount of time, and what.
And if
can
you
I
love
do? So,
Animal
like,
Crossing and Doom,
and you're like, well, there's something because I don't know. Like, I think for me, it's impossible to juggle 2 RPGs at once. I get confused.
Yeah.
And like the control schemes are always like really different. And like with the Witchers, it's a very specific control scheme. And like, I just remember trying to play that, and I think Final Fantasy 15 around the same time, and jumping back and forth between those, it just doesn't work. And then I get confused about the world. And I'm like, why am I not warping? And I'm like, I don't understand. But with like games like Animal
you're
Crossing,
playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake, waiting for the part where you get to build your gummy ship.
But actually, weird, interesting question though. Do you guys have like a sub game you play where it's like when Animal Crossing comes out? I know I'm going to be playing The Witcher, but Animal Crossing is like a whole different genre where I can just ease into just doing something dumb and mundane. Which again, no, not even crapping on Animal Crossing. It is a very just chill, mundane game to play that when I want to give myself a rest, so I don't like burn out on The Witcher. Do you guys have games like you kind of go, oh, I can just go and do like Minecraft or Stardew or something where you're like, or Tony Hawk, honestly, because you are skating, doing fun combos and stuff as like a chill game, or is this just me being weird?
Well, the thing is me playing the Tony Hawk games right now was like a specific targeted effort to play through these games. So to be clear, I'm playing through a campaign and then I'm done. I don't spend a single extra minute on them than I need to. So I'm not like revisiting them casually and going, oh, I'm going to kill an hour with Tony Hawk. Like I'm actually trying to beat the Tony Hawk games. And then once I get through, I'll probably stop at American Wasteland because it was the last one I played growing up and have nostalgia for. So when I stop at that point, I'm not going to keep revisiting them. Honestly, I don't have a game I keep going back to that's like, here's my time killer when I don't feel like I can focus on the investment of a new game. What I usually do is, you know, in the way that someone might use like Minecraft or something you go back to casually and put thousands of hours into, when I could be doing that, I just decide to play a short game. I go, give me a 4-hour indie game, or I'll go back to the Super Nintendo and be like, all right, I'm playing a Mario game now, or a 40-minute Kirby game. Like, that's what I do with that time where I'm like, no, I can't get invested in a 60-hour JRPG right now.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of fair. Instead of doing that, like, I usually try and spend the money that I have with kind of like, I'm not an indie game kind of buyer usually, unless it's like in a humble bundle. For me, what I typically do is like, I have time wasters on my phone. That way I'm not really spending money, and you know, it's something like that I'm not going to invest tons and tons of time in. It could just be something like, oh, I'm at a waiting room, or oh, I'm in the car, like, and I forgot my Switch, or, you know, or even then, like, I have emulators on my phone where I can download ROMs or ISOs, like, and just play on there. And, you know, a lot of the time, like, I'll have like, for example, I think I have Legend of Dragoon on my phone where it's just a version of the game where I'm not really taking it seriously because it's on a touch screen. You can't really play it seriously. So like I'll slowly progress my way through something if I have the time, or, you know, just something to, you know, that I'm not heavily invested in and like really caring about, you know, in between like burnouts on games and such. So
my Switch is loaded up with emulators and retro games, so that's a go-to time killer. I kind of refuse to use my phone for gaming in any way.
Same.
I just always have my Switch in a coat pocket, which I guess only works until the summer.
I guess you guys have standards then, huh? I see.
No, I've just never been able to. I don't know. Like I've never gotten used to mobile games. Like I know they keep getting better and better because like actually, Seven Deadly Sins just released a decent open world mobile game. Like I think
really?
yesterday, and it looks decent. Like it's genuine like open world RPG like on your phone. And I was looking at it going, I want to, but I know the time I have to have this in my hand, I'll be near my Switch or something like that. So like I kind of just think, like, okay, like when I have, I'll just be playing on there. Which recently it's been Rocket League, which is just like dumb fun until I lose way too often, and then I go back to The Witcher.
Oh, gotcha. Well, also the difference is between you guys. I don't know what kind of phone you have, Jacob, but I have the Moto Z3 where I also get the mods for my phone, and like yeah, and like I'll hook up like my PS4 controller to my Bluetooth on my phone, and then I have the projector that I put on my wall, and I'll play. You know, if I'm just wanting to do something like that kind of thing. So it's a little different. I don't know. I'm more often than not, I'm playing emulators on my phone than I am like mobile games. But I'm not really doing anything like I'm not playing them to necessarily complete them. I'm usually just kind of wasting my time, which is most of my life. So.
Speaking of wasting time, this has been yet another Geek Show.
Smooth.
Thank you for listeing.
Share it if you
share
care.
Share us on Twitter and Bookface and whatever else the youngins are using. But preferably
like the smash button
and MySpace. But like maybe use a better episode to do it, or just like
Dalton, you're
use an episode of a
spiraling.
different
Stop
show,
it.
but just like call it our show.
Bring him back. Bring
Dalton,
him back.
Notice.
Clean it up.
Thank you guys for listening. Hope you have a very nice night.